Welcome to Voice of the People, where we are going to listen to the people. We're going to go through some comments and concerns and things that people left us over our last two shows. On the level with Linksy and our in-depth last night where we talked about Black history. What is it? So we're going to talk about some comments. Jill, you ready for this?
I'm always ready for Voice of the People because we love the people.
We love the people. And we thank you all for joining us and leaving comments. This is what this show's about. If you have anything that you want to tell us, talk to us about, leave us a comment, leave us a question. We'll address it every time. But we were going to talk about our Tuesday night show. That's a new show. Did y'all watch our Tuesday night show?
That was a really good show. Good.
Yeah, what'd you think about it?
It had me in tears.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, very good show.
What sparked anything for you?
I think just because the gentlemen, the guests that we had on, just listening to their story, that's kind of the line of business that I'm in, and I'm super passionate to watch people grow. And we had a younger gentleman and an older gentleman, and the older gentleman, he kind of teared up when he was telling his story, and that's awesome. I mean, that's what we want to see. It's beautiful.
Yeah. The older gentleman, I think his name was Rod.
What's it?
And he told a story, and he said he battled addiction for a long time until he met Miss Keeley, and then once he met Miss Keeley, he changed. He finally decided that he needed to change, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Miss Mildred, did you watch it with us?
I did. I was actually behind the scenes, and the older gentleman to me reminded me, having lost my dad, and he having gone through recovery, being in prison, reminded me. So I let him know that he's never too old, to get through. So, if you're struggling with addiction, it's possible for you to do better, get clean, and integrate back into society and into your own family. Even with my dad's addiction, he was considered the Superman of our family. Mm-hmm. So to see him pushing at his age, gave me hope for other men.
Yeah.
Well, our first comment is, it says, this program is facilitated from the top down by people who care about the outcome of, outcome of those who are enrolled. It can be life-changing for these men. So glad to have this at Allen County Jail. Mm-hmm. You heard, Miss Keeley, as she gave the story of how it came about and everything and how they screen people to get them in, it can be life-changing. But the one thing they said is that you have to want to change it.
Right,
yes.
Right. And, something that I think, and I've always thought, is the recidivism.
Recidivism.
The rate is so high, and a lot of times I think that is because I think there should be some kind of program when, these women or gentlemen are getting ready to be released that kind of sets them up. Because I feel like once you're in the system, you are in the system, and it is not in your favor. So I really feel like that program is awesome, and I actually think it should almost be somewhat of a requirement that you meet with these, inmates that are getting ready to go. Teach them how to fill out a job application, a bank account, help them find housing, give them the best opportunity to, reintegrate back into society.
Not only reintegrate them, but rehumanize them.
Absolutely.
The legal system dehumanizes a lot of people, but give them the feeling of being a man or a woman again and putting them back in their proper place. That is something that's needed, and that's a great program.
Also, the stigma of institutionalized men and women that come out of prison, because even though they come out, they're so institutionalized, they have this routine, and that's why she said, a lot of them, most of them, if not all, come in with some kind of form of addiction. So, like you said, it should be a requirement for them to go through a program like this.
Yeah, and that's good. We're going to go to another comment. Jill, you have another comment?
I do. This sounds like a beautiful program. Whether it works or not, it's no fail. It's win, because you're creating an opportunity as well as options for those ready and those who are not. It is faith-based and God being implement.
Yeah. That's the thing. I was listening to the gentleman. We heard them as they got off camera and before they got on camera, and to hear those stories and faith, and that they talked a lot about now their faith, their belief, and that's something we have to. I think the world takes for granted or don't believe much in, you got to give people hope some type of way in something. So their belief in God, their faith, whatever they hold on to, we try to minimize that or take that away from people. But a belief system will help you get further than anything else.
Well, and when you talk about addiction, you know, when you are addicted to drugs or alcohol or whatever, you are numbing yourself. So when you become sober and you're clean, you start to feel things that were covered up by the drugs before. So you don't know how to manage your feelings. You don't know how to manage your emotions because you're feeling everything. So a lot of times if you don't know how to handle that, you're going right back into the drugs to cover everything up.
Yeah. But you got to believe in something other than yourself, because obviously yourself couldn't get you out of that situation. Obviously what you were doing at that point in time or up until that point in time, it wasn't working. So you need to believe in something that's a little higher, a little stronger than yourself, or you're going to be on that hamster wheel. You're going to continue to go in the same circles, do the same things, continue the same behavior. So I believe that, you know, faith is a key to a lot of our success.
Well, you know, we've had a couple gentlemen on the show that actually did a lot of time, and something that both of them said was, God got me through it. And even if they went into jail or prison not believing, they came out a believer, because when you're in there, you need something to cling to. You know, the gentleman that was here said, my family pushed me away, and then he corrected himself. And he said, I pushed my family away. And just listening, like, he has learned so much. He caught himself because his family didn't push him away.
Right. Right. And when we talk about faith, I'm not going to tell you have to be a Christian, a Muslim, or anything. You just have to believe in a higher power outside of yourself, something that is greater than you that can help you get you through. Because again, if you could do it, it would have been done. So just preach it, Jill. But since it wasn't done, you need to have something to help you get through.
Yeah. And he'll never leave.
Preach, Jill. Look at you. Look at you.
Okay.
This is another comment. Awesome information on JCAP. It's wonderful to see and hear graduates grateful and willing to be a new role model for the community. That's something, and they both spoke that, especially the young man, and I think his name was Wesley. I believe that was his name, and how he talked about now he wants to be present in his children's life. He wants to show them a better father, a better person, you know, and he was young. He was real young.
Better version.
A better version. So he got a lot of room to improve himself and grow.
Yeah, and they both said, I got tired. I got tired of living that life. And we've talked before, like, you cannot make any kind of change until you are tired enough. And they were there. Some people are not there. They were definitely there, and they both spoke on it.
Yeah, and it was good. It was good. I really enjoyed it. Now, the last one is a very juicy question. And we're going to spend a minute on this, and we don't want to get past this, but this is what's going on in our community. JCAP sounds like a good program that is funded by the sheriff, city, or state. Instead of building a new jail, why not allocate more funds to that program or more programs like it? What y'all think?
Do you want to go first?
No, go ahead.
Okay, so my answer is also juicy. So this is just my opinion. I don't think that the government or the people in charge want to rehabilitate these people. I like I said, once you get into the system, it's very hard to get out. And even though you've done your time, you get out and you're still doing your time. You're doing your time when you try to get a job. You're doing your time when you're trying to get an apartment. So I don't believe that they'll ever allocate funds to something like that. I just don't, because that's not their intention.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's a business on some ends, but it's a trap in other ends.
Right. Think about it. It's prison labor. It's jail labor. Think of all the free labor. It's a corporation. It is a corporation, and that will cut into their corporation.
That's true. Mildred, before I speak, did you have something you would like to say?
That's where I was going to go with that. You know, the free labor, almost free. They tell you they're going to give them some kind of stipend if they work or get into these programs, but then it's for commissary. They don't teach them anything. They just make them do something because they're in prison. So that's
Yep.
Yeah, and the pay, I think the pay rate is like 35 to 50 cents a day
Yeah,
in
it's
prison.
it's
Pay.
ridiculous.
So it is slave labor. But here's what I like is they ask why build a new jail, and that's been a question. That's been a fight for
Yeah.
the community. In every one of the sheriff candidates, because we elected a new sheriff, and I don't know what the new sheriff's name is. Please forgive me, I don't know it. But one of his stances were, well, we're going to be on the mental health side, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do that. Why are you going to do it when you have a program already in place? Why aren't you initiating or moving forward this one program you already have in place? You have something that's working, that's functional.
And here's what's sad. It's 2023, so it's not brand new that people in jail or people in prison have mental health issues, have, like I said, emotional issues, many other things. So it's not a secret that this was needed. So if you want to do it or you want to talk about it, why haven't you already done it?
Well, and here's a problem also what Miss Keeley was saying about the program. They only take 15 inmates a session, and I don't know how long the session is. 4 months. So 15 out of the hundreds and maybe even thousands, because the jail's been overcrowded, but the hundreds of inmates, you get 15. You want to know why that is? She's the only one.
Right.
This program has been enforced for a couple of years now. Why is she still the only one? You have this money. You have these things. Why is this just a singular person's program?
Didn't she say it was funded by grants right now?
By grants, and they get stuff from the state, but there's other allocations. But the jail, they have funding
Clearly.
because apparently they can build a $500 million jail.
Right.
When what was it like? It was like 75, 80 million to upgrade the one jail, but they want to build a $500 million jail. So you can get the money to fund the programs. Why aren't you looking for the money to fund the programs that's already in place? But I agree with you, Jill. Are they really trying to rehabilitate? Are they really trying to change lives? Are they really trying to bring people back into the community?
Well, and think about it. I mean, basically, he's a politician, and just to be real, and he knows what we want to hear because it's what we've been speaking on ever since they started talking about this jail. So let me get up here on my platform and tell the public that this is really what I want to do. But when you really get to it, is that what you're going to do?
Right.
No, we'll have to watch it.
It's already there.
Right.
Well, and that's the main thing. It's already there. So I don't understand. But we're gonna move on. We talked about Black history yesterday, and we're going to talk about Black history for the month of February and a different look at Black history. We're going to bring it in a different look. And yesterday we talked about the Black History Month. Not is Black history needed or relevant. We're talking about, is the actual month, does it really stand for something? Is it really relevant?
Right.
What is the month? But Jill, you had comment before we go into, we're going to let you get on your comment, and we're going to spend a few minutes on this one too.
So I made a post of myself speaking on Instagram, and I was basically giving a simple illustration of oppression. And briefly, I said, you have two people that are running the exact same race. This person over here, and both of them can get to the finish line. The finish line's right there. This person here has a straight line to the finish. The person here has to go around. So basically, they have obstacles. That is a elementary, simple definition of oppression. So I made the post. Ben Dallas, who has been a loyal follower for many years, and we appreciate his stance, although I know it's not the same as mine. So Ben says, in regards to my video, who decides who has it easier? Are they the same Democrats who are guilty of every major race crime in our nation's history? Also, are you talking about equal outcomes opposed to equal opportunity, equality? So
your chest puffed out, Jill. What you got to say with that? Your chest stuck out after that. Go ahead.
So it's not about, and this is the same gentleman who the same day posted something about white people also having slaves. And, you know, my reaction to that
White people also being slaves.
was yes, white people, yes,
Also
and then
being
black
slaves.
people having slaves.
Yes.
So instead of focusing on everything that happens and all the rules that were put in place against black people, even if white people were slaves back then, they didn't have a rule book. So he wants so badly to make it seem like it's equal, and I will never see that way. I just won't. And you know, for him to not understand who decides who has it easier, it's very clear. It's very clear. I mean, this person, yeah. I mean, white people work hard just as much as anybody else to get where they need to be. However, it's a straight line.
It's an easier path.
It's a straight line. And
Yes.
you know, you have somebody here and you're going through, okay, a broken family. Then you're going through your dad was put in prison because of the crack epidemic. Okay. Then you're going through, you have a single mom, so you're at home raising your 3 kids. All of these stops. So how long is it going to take to get you there? And are you going to give up before you get there?
Yeah. Yeah. I have 2 different points of view of that, but Ms. Mildred, did you have anything that you wanted to address before I got
to?
It's radical.
That's a good word. Radical. And the way you came back at him was such in a professional manner.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate that. But that's all I have to say about it.
I could have went in. I didn't.
Well, Mr. Dallas and I have had some exchanges in the past, and they've been professional.
Yeah.
They've been
It's
cordial.
always professional, yeah.
So we've had some exchanges. We don't see eye to eye on a lot of things. Some things we can find a middle ground on. You know, that's communication and that's dealing. But on this one, I'm going to look at both sides of his opinion. And this is what I'm going to say. First of all, who decides? The Democrats? Well, it'll be Democrats, a Republican, Whigs, fundamentalists, whatever you want to call them, when they were together writing the Constitution. When they wrote the Constitution, they left specific people out.
Yeah.
So once those people were specifically left out, they were already at a disadvantage. Now, black people at the forefront were those people. But Miss Jill, do you know you as a white woman was not mentioned in the Constitution?
No, I wasn't.
Yes. So it's not just about who, when he asks who made the rule for equality. Right. If it wasn't black people and it wasn't white women, who were in power at the time? Ask yourself that.
Dinosaurs.
So let's break it down.
Yeah.
It was wealthy white landowners. So they made the rules. So if they made the rules, it's their game.
The wealthy white landowners still make the rules today.
Still make the rules today. But I'm just saying, he said the Democrats. I'm not just going to put it on Democrats. I'm telling you, because there have been different political parties too. Like I said, fundamentalists, Whigs, you know, Republicans, Dixiecrats, whatever you want to call, whatever political party you want to associate with, they've all been there and they've all been a party to setting the rules and setting the bars because they're people. But again, there were no black people there. There were no white women there. So historically, who set the rules?
Yeah. Right.
White men.
Right.
White men, period. You can't argue that fact. You want to argue it, but facts are facts. You can't argue that fact.
And how can you look at an elementary illustration? Even children would be able to understand. Oh, I see how that works, you know. But like Ben is Ben is very smart. Ben has, you know, his own podcast, and he's very intelligent.
Yes.
But he has his own views, just like we do.
Right, and that's why I said I'm gonna look at it from both, and I'm not throwing stones, pointing fingers. I'm just telling facts of what it is. That's how this country was founded. That's how it was. Secondly, he said, "Are we talking about equal outcome or equal opportunity?" Let's look at this in the grand scheme of things. When has there been an equal opportunity? The outcome could be equal if the opportunities were equal.
Right.
Through Jim Crow, through Reconstruction, through all these different times, there were rules set in place that didn't allow black people to get ahead like everybody else. Redlining, we can look at that.
Yeah.
Banks were not allowed to loan money to black people to own homes, and black people weren't allowed to own property at points in time. These people, they had a head start. Historical facts. You want to argue it, but you can't.
It's it's right there.
It's right there. I'm just giving you historical. I'm not giving you anything of my opinion. I'm not giving you anything slighted. I'm giving you the reality. So when black people, women too, women were not, and I want to bring white women in here because you're saying who sets the rules and who can change it. The people that are in power. White women at points in times couldn't own land, couldn't own, things. They couldn't vote. They couldn't do this. They didn't have the power to be able to make these changes.
And we talk about wealth and the wealth gap, generational wealth. So like you said, if you have a certain group of people that aren't even allowed to purchase property, but then you have this group who they're going to be all the way up here building that generational wealth before this person can make their first investment.
Right.
So how can you say that this person isn't that far ahead?
Right. But now I'm going to flip the coin. I'm going to go to the other side because he does have an actual point. When are we as a society, a black people, a black culture, going to find ways to get around the things that hold us back or that are put in our stumbling blocks? Truthfully, they're talking about building a wall and keeping the aliens from Mexico and even further south from coming across the border. They've been talking about this wall, but to their credit, and I know this sounds funny, but you got to understand what I'm saying. They found ways around that wall.
Absolutely.
Either climbing it, tunneling under it, whatever. They found ways around that wall. And they got to where they wanted to be. They become functional and they'll be able to do and thrive the way that they want to thrive.
Right.
Not sometimes, we as black people got to get to the point where we're saying, no matter what the wall is, we're going to get past it some way, somehow.
And they do. There's a lot of successful black people.
I agree, but I'm talking about the masses. I'm talking about the whole. There's accountability that we have to put on ourselves of us staying where we are, us being stagnant.
Right.
We as a group, we as a community, we as a race, we gotta figure it out.
Right, because those hurdles on your track were placed there intentionally.
Right.
And they are still there. And if you know that they're there, if you're running a race and there are hurdles, you have to find a way over in order to get to the end. You can't just say, I'm not doing this and I'm going to stop here, because you lose the race.
You lose the race.
So I'm listening, I understand, and at the same time, I think about, we go to their schools, we learn their rules, and as we get older, we're expected to change our mindset. So to me, the one thing that needs to happen in our community is a change of mindset. But if we don't see it with other leaders, we don't have a lot of black leaders in our community. It's kind of hard to tell us, change your mindset, go over this hurdle. I'm a woman of faith and I believe in God and I trust, but when you start to teach and infiltrate their minds from a very young age, elementary school, what they teach us or what they aren't teaching us, then into middle school, into high school, the mindset is work for me. It's like an enslavement in today's society. So, I have children and grandchildren and I try to teach them. But if our community, our black men don't stand up and kind of guide the rest of us to change our mind, to unite, to do things together, it's kind of, you know what I'm saying?
I'm gonna agree with you to a point. I really am. But you said something, and you got to hear how you said it. You said we go to there. As we talked about Black History yesterday, we can't expect anybody else to celebrate Black history for us. Tell us how to celebrate Black history, what Black history is, what we need to do. We sit around a lot of times just waiting for somebody else to do a lot of things for us. Well, Hasidic Jews
got their own schools.
Since they've been in this country, Hasidic Jews have not primarily been integrated into the society. They've had their own school. They have their own shops, their own community. There's a neighborhood in New York. I don't know what it's called. Is it Bensonhurst?
Easton Park.
Easton Park in New York. You go there. Everything is owned by a Hasidic Jew. Mm-hmm. Everything. The stores, their clothing, everything, their food, everything is owned by them. And they're in the world, but they're not part of the world. So what I'm saying is, we have to get that attitude, mindset. I'm agree with that. We got to get that mindset. We got to get that attitude. We got to get that. But again, the problem is in lives, and I'm going to agree, those delays that we had, it is still holding us back because we don't have capital. But we can get around it. There's ways there's enough.
The Hasidic Jews also have a leader. They also have men that come together and congregate and talk and do things together. And hey, you take care of this side. And I lived in New York, so I've seen it. I've seen the women and the children walk on one side of the street, 5001 10th Avenue. I lived on this side. You have the Puerto Ricans on this side, the Jews on this side, the Caribbeans on this side. But they were all together because they had a leader. Where is our leader?
I'm going to agree with you on that. Go ahead.
So
Jill.
we talk about leadership all the time, and it is very important. But I look at it in a different way. I'm going to go back to the race. If you want it bad enough, if you want to win, do you need somebody behind you pushing you? Because if you want that bad enough, you're going to get it. It's just like successful people. People who are more successful than me probably aren't smarter than me. They worked harder than me. They wanted it more than I did.
Right.
A lot of people who are successful had nobody in their corner, and that drove them to the finish line.
Yeah, you're right. And again, these conversations are what we need to have. Miss Mildred, your point about leadership is correct. Ben Dallas, his whole thing was not frivolous. You just have to dissect
He
it.
throws it in there.
You have to dissect it. I'm not going to discredit his whole idea. The thought I will discredit because of how it's presented, but the way it's written, if you analyze it, there's a lot to that.
You pick it.
You got to pick it. You got to pick it apart. And we got to get out of here. We can be
one thing
it quick because we got to get.
Yesterday you mentioned that we're not doing stuff in the community. Men fighting for health. Every second Wednesday at 5:30, I'm going to be posting something that was given to me that is happening in our community. Every second Wednesday at 5:30.
Is that Mr. Ayers?
That's Mr. Ayers.
Yes.
I talked to him today, and there's a couple of things that he has going on in the near future for family. So if you're part of the community, I'm going to be posting up some of the flyers.
Yeah. And again, we thank you. We just went through some comments and things that were addressed. Go back and listen to the comments. And our next show is tomorrow. Actually, it's the mental health show. We're going to have a guest, and I believe they're going to be discussing human trafficking. I do believe that's what they're going to be discussing. But join us for Your Mental Health Matters. Mildred's on that panel. So join us for Your Mental Health Matters. That's presented by ONV. And then we're going to come back next week on Tuesday, Jill. And we're going to talk about the inventors.
Yeah, that's going to be a good one.
Yeah, that's going to be good. Because some of the smallest things you wouldn't realize.
And people don't know because it's not spoken on.
Yes. So we thank you again for joining us. And we're asking you to continue to join us, continue to go with us as we continue on this journey. We thank you all that has been with us thus far. And we're going to pray that you continue to walk with us as we go. And we're going to make some changes. We got to be the change that we want to see. Jill, I'm going to let you. E-Fikes is not here. So Jill, before we leave the people, what do we always remind our audience?
Always protect your mind.
Thank you all and have a good night.